Good morning. Now that everybody in Kalamazoo can hear me. We're kind of stalling, if you hadn't noticed. There is a very bad accident on M6, so to slow down some of our Holland, Zealand, Pennsylvania who are coming in. So you seem like we're slowing down, we are. Hopefully nobody noticed, right? So we have people coming in to sit down, so we'll get started in just a couple seconds. I am going to run through some announcements. The first being, did everybody get a bag and or a packet? Packets look like this. The packet is the most important thing right now. If you didn't get one, raise your hand and Jess or Bart will run you one. Looks like we're good. When you open your packet, this side here is the list you're going to need. And I know online you guys didn't get yours yet. I was actually not planning on being online and then forgot. So we'll send those out either this evening or tonight or tomorrow. So, but those are the lists you need. There. The other ones are discounts, suggestions for guide lists, kids books, things like that. So, and then I remembered I have to pick it up because I have to show you. This is for in the store. If you have a book that you can't find or isn't out yet and you want to pre-order it, just fill out the part where it says your name, church name, all that fun stuff, the name and the author. And then go to the island here and they will do a special order for you today. And then if you pay for it today, you'll for sure get 30%. Some of the pre-orders are going to be at 40%, but those are bigger books. So keep an eye out for them. But that one, and then those lists are probably your most important sheets. There is a promo code for those online and or if you find out when you get home you've got something. It's Fall Librarians 30 with the F and the L capital. And it's good through the whole week. So it's good through Saturday or Sunday. I forget which one it might have been Sunday, but try to use it before Saturday or on Saturday. But that way, if you forget one or if you're unable to join us, then you can easily use that one. I think that is all of my secrets except for there's a little wooden table by my bar there. On that table is a couple different piles of books. Each library can take one of those books home. So whichever title you pick, one of them is free for you. So make sure you add them. They just came in later than we made bags, and I didn't feel like taking the bags apart and putting them in that. So it's easy. So if you've already grabbed one, let everybody else have a shot at it first. But there's a lot of good stuff up there. So, so first today is going to be Jessica, our children's book buyer. I am not allowed to say children's buyer anymore. So, but she's going to join us today, and she's got a good list. And then we'll be Bart, and then I'll be back.
-1. How about now?
Yes.
All right, so I am excited to show you guys this new list. We'll go ahead and just jump in and get right on started. So first off, we have and technology will work today.
There you go.
There it goes. I was looking at it, wasn't doing anything.
Yeah.
Okay, so first off, we have Power of Inevitability by Jasmine L. Holmes. This is a young reader's edition to her adult version that was out earlier in the year. This is a full set of biographies and lessons from women of color who have helped change history by building schools, changing laws, and most importantly, spreading the gospel around the world. Oh, it's changing up here, but not here. Sorry, guys. All right, so this one is a very humorous book. It's called The Adventures of Average Boy by Bob Smiley. Bob Smiley is a Christian comedian, so that's where all the humor in this book is found. This particular story goes through his trials in middle school and all of the fun, exciting things that happened during that time. Most importantly, he has to learn how to struggle, with everyday life of middle school, plus learning to stand up for God. All right, and the Dead Sea Scrolls series, we have book number 10, The Risky River Rescue. The squirrels are constantly getting in trouble, and this book is no different. So in this one, though, we get to meet a new character who has to come and help rescue them this time. In the Imagination Station, we have book number 28. It is currently still only in hardcover and will come out in paperback a long time from now. But they are not slowing down at all in creating this series. In this one, we get to find the islands and enemies. And we get to follow Patrick and Beth as they get accused of witchcraft while on a ship. And they're stuck there. And they have to learn how to trust God to get them through that situation. This next one is a 6 to 8 Bible storybook. The illustrations of this one are great. They use an older illustration that you don't get to see in a lot of books anymore. Throughout this entire story, we get to see from the redemption to the start of creation to the final reconciliation. And Scott James does a phenomenal job of artfully weaving the words and creating the beautiful imagery that you don't get to see in a lot of storybooks. All right, now we have Queen Esther, the Nation Saver. This is the first one in an upcoming series. And this has several tales of women from the Bible that are told in short novel stories. And each story tells where it comes from and has thought-provoking questions at the end. So it's one to really get kids thinking about what the stories mean. All right, so we do have two different books here, number 3 and number 4 in the Tree Street series by Amanda Cleary Easta. The first one, we get to follow Jack as he struggles joining the football team and having to go through the practices and still maintaining his friendships. And then in Mystery in the Crooked Creek Woods, we again follow Jack as he goes on an adventure to discover the mystery in the woods. Along the way, he learns to trust in those who love him, and most importantly, God, and learns to love others even when he doesn't want to. What Do I Do with Anger is another one in Dr. Josh and Christy Straub's series. In each of their books, they try to really teach kids how to handle what they're feeling. Where is it coming from? What do I do with this? So on and so forth, in a very biblical point of view. Taste and See is another Bible storybook. This one starts from the fruit in the garden to the final feast in heaven, and tells the ways that God shows his goodness and love for us in the Bible. It offers breathtaking, vibrant images, as well as includes where they pulled the simplified text straight from the Bible. All right. and the Serpent Slayer and the Scroll of Riddles. Again, it's the first one in the new series. We get to follow Emmett and Nomi as they find themselves pulled into an ancient quest filled with riddles and trials. Sorry, lost my thought. Riddles and trials of plenty. And unfortunately, when they return to their own time, they have plenty of trials there too. But thanks to the quest that they went on, they now have the tools that they need to get through them with the help of God. These next two that are coming up, starting with One Sheep Short by Bob Hardman and The Fantastic Feast, are parodies off of the parables. The illustrations on these are very different than what you're used to seeing. It's kind of humorous in how it illustrates, and the rhythm rhymes that he uses are very different than you've seen before. It's just a really fun way to grab the kids' attention as they learn parables. All right, these next two, Wind in the Willows and The Secret Garden, are both part of the Read With Me Classics. What's really cool about these two is that it separates them out into about 20-minute chunks and includes definitions to hard words, as well as questions, so that the whole family can get involved and spend time together reading. Fiona has gathered quite the fan base, and her books are just absolutely adorable. This one is part of the I Can Read series. It's a level 1. And in this one, Fiona takes a train ride around the zoo. And along the way, she has a lot of troubles, from learning how to drive the train to a bunch of other things that happen. I won't give away. But in the end, she does get to finally meet the new red pandas in the zoo. Kids of the Bible Storybook by Franklin Goldberg. This one's a really unique perspective on the characters that we already know. We often forget that at the time that these characters, David, Samuel, Joseph, at the time that they were being used, the stories in the Bible, they were still really young. They weren't these grown men that we visualize them as being. So in this one, it reminds us that God can use anybody at any age to do amazing things. See Let's Be a Good Friend by Gemma Hunt simply shows what it means to be a good friend through retelling Bible stories in an everyday context with real life examples. In Burstein Bears School Days collection, we have 6 different titles that teach kids how to get through school and all of the struggles that come with it. Little Prayers for Everyday Life is a very, very cute book that goes through different prayers from waking up in the morning to brushing your teeth, to before dinner, just teaching kids how to pray throughout the day and what that looks like. Chloe and the Closet of Secrets by Ginger Hubbard teaches kids the trouble of lying and how quickly one becomes many. Through the example of her own parents, she learns to ask God for forgiveness, as well as those who hurt her with the lies that she told. Sam in the Sticky Situation is part of that same series. And this one, Sam and his mother both have a bad habit of whining to get what they want. They soon learn that whining will ultimately lead them in a place they really don't want to be. We have 3 new books and the theology for little hearts. The first one is the church, second is Holy Spirit, and then we have creation. These are really simple board books that teach even littles big concepts, but bring it down into a level where they start to learn it. So when they're older, it's not as confusing for them. Hymns for little ones, we have Amazing Grace and Nothing But the Blood of Jesus. These ones pair the lyrics to these songs with beautiful illustrations. You can either read or sing the lyrics as you go through. At the end of each one of these, they do include the full score along with the full lyrics. Happy Birthday World is the third one in Alexandra Smith's language series. In this one, we get to see how happy birthday is said all around the world in 16 different ways. Let's Learn About the Forest is a really fun seek and find book. We get to learn cool facts about the forest God created and all of the different creatures with it, all while trying to spot different items along the page. Who Hears You is a really, really adorable little flip of that book. We get to follow baby owl, Little Who, travel the forest to find his hidden friends. Along the way, Little Who learns that God places all sorts of people in our community to show love and friendship to us. God Rescues by Jared Kennedy is another simplified Bible story of the Exodus. So this shows kids in a very modern telling what that looked like. The Child's First Bible, Learn With Me, is a set of 3 books. We have colors, numbers, and shapes. What's really cool about this series is that as the kids are learning their primers, they get to learn that God created these things. God gave it to us. He wants to bless us with these. Little Book of Angels by Jim Fisher, part of the Precious Moments series, shows us what angels are, where they came from, what's their purpose, and who are the different ones in the Bible that we see in their names. The Awesome Super Fantastic Party. Grab a party. This is already a picture book. It just came out in a board book, and it talks on the final feast that we get to have in heaven. This is another one that was previously released in a picture book and board book now. Wherever You Go, I Want to Go, with Melissa Kruger. And this one, we get to see how kids want to do a lot of things when they grow up. And it's important that they remember that along the way to keep Jesus with them, to keep them in their heart. Snoopy's Book of Joy. There isn't anything particularly faith-based about this one, but it's a great reminder to find joy in the everyday moments of life. Baptized in Water by Glennis Nellis. Glennis tackled the hard question of what is baptism? What does it mean? What does it look like? Where do I go to get baptized? And all the different ways that that can look. She Led the Way is another set of biographies of women of color who have changed the world. The difference between this one and Carbon Ebony is this one isn't fully faith-based. It does pull in some of those, but it's not as heavy. And it does talk about some of the similar people, but it's different people as well. The Creator in You. If you get a chance to look at the illustrations of this one, I highly encourage it. They are beautiful. Excuse me. And this one, the author Rainer shows how God created us in his image. And since he is a creator, we are called to create as well. Thank You, Mama is a great book that allows us to follow little Gray throughout his day. Filled with grand adventures that constantly make him hungry, he can't seem to decide what his favorite foods are. At the end of the day, he decides that his favorite foods are really the ones that he gets to share with others. This Farm is a Family by Dan McCarran. This is based off a real-life farm sanctuary here in Michigan. We get to follow a new animal on the farm who's struggling to fit in until they realize that it really is a safe place and they're welcomed. God and Me at the Sea reminds us that God watches us every minute of the day. And at any time, we can spend time with him. We can give him thanks. Even if we're having fun at the sea, God can join us in those moments. Uniquely You by Joyce Meyer is, in a very rhythmic manner, reminds children that God made us very unique and with specific talents and a purpose. Little Mo Goes to School. We get to follow Little Mo's first day in school, and he's very scared, and he starts to worry about what others will think about him, and he starts to try to compare himself to others. He learns that we're made different, and our differences can help others and what they struggle in. I Am God's Stream is another one about who we are. And this one, Matthew Turner reminds us that God made all of us the way we are. We are images of God's imagination and dreams. Our unique traits were given to us for a reason, and it's our job to share those with others. God's Garden by Frank Boylan is inspired by Dorothy Frances Gurney's poem. This lovely picture book shows how God created a garden for us to dwell, so that we may be close to him. There's a line in it that I wanted to share. One is nearer God's heart in a garden than anywhere else on earth. The Ark That Noah Built by Ruth Pearson is just a really simplified retelling of Noah's Ark. The watercolor illustrations of this one are really cute. All Will Be Well is a great book if somebody in your family gets sick. This one, Mima grows ill, and Julianne becomes very sad and angry until Mima explains that no matter what happens, she will be where God is. And because God loves us, all will be well. Literary Critters by Sophie Corrigan. I always love a really good pun, and Sophie has become one of my favorite authors because of this. And this one, she has taken famous literary characters and turned them into really fun pun animals. For example, we have Shakespeare, Edgar Allan Poe, C.S. Lewis, and Charles Chickens, just to name a few. More Than a Little. This book could be used as a big thank you card. And this one, we get to learn that I like you more than a little. I appreciate you for all that you've done, all of the uniqueness that you bring, all of the things that you have to offer. Thank you, more than a little. All the Treasures You Know by Lucy Olson. This one is a very heavy parody to All the Places You'll Go by Dr. Seuss. However, in this one, it's a constant reminder to be careful of what path you take. Stay on the path that God has created and don't stray. Remember to keep your eyes set on the treasure in heaven at the end of that path. The Stories of God and Kiki. This is a pairing book to the creations of God and Ava. And this one, though, we get to follow, again, how God is the author of all things, and he created all of these stories. And Kiki wants to create stories too, just like him. World of Praise by Deborah Locke. This one we get to follow around the world and see how nature still sings God's praise, no matter where you are. And this last one, The Story of Us by Natalie Perkins. This one, again, has absolutely stunning illustrations. Even if all you do is take a peek on the inside, again, I highly encourage that. What's also really cool about this one is it takes us through the entire story from creation to our final redemption. It brings in nature into it. So when we first were created, we lived in harmony with nature in the garden. That's how we did it. From there, we fought the earth and the earth fought back. Natural disasters, our arson, all of these different things. And then God came along with Jesus and started to bring nature in to heal us. Water by baptism, for example. I'd never seen it told in that perspective before, and I thought it was really neat. And that is all that I have for you. So I'll get Bart's PowerPoint up in here going, and we'll show you the nonfiction.
Are you all as excited as we are about hosting this event? We're glad to see you here, and hopefully our technology works for us. I've got a few titles that I'm just very excited about having you see. I think some titles that will really help folks in your churches just walk the Christian walk, and we're getting close. We're getting close. Right click?
Right click.
Well. All right, this first one's called Your New Playlist by John A. Cuffin. This is a book that's aimed at teens. It follows a book he wrote with a similar title called Soundtracks, which was, of course, geared towards adults. The idea was that we have these soundtracks, these playlists that go through our mind, these thoughts that play over and over and over again in our minds. And if you're like me, I know you struggled with that. Well, his idea has always been that you get the right soundtrack in your mind, and things are going to go a lot better for you. You get the truths of God playing in your mind, and life's going to go a lot better for you. And so the idea of this book for teens was that if you get the right soundtrack, that godly soundtrack playing in your mind early on, it's kind of like compound interest, right? When you invest when you're young, it's powerful, and you have a lot more money than if you started when you were older, even if you were putting bigger chunks of money in than when you were young. So you're going to find this in our teen section, and I believe that this could help a lot of young folks that just get that right playlist going in their mind, those right thoughts going over and over again. It can be life-changing. All right, our next one, Sacred Rhythms by Ruth Haley Barton. I'm going to show 3 books of many that are in a series that IVP calls their signature collection. So not only, you'll see them, they all have these similar covers here that I think are really gorgeous, and they're all good reads as well. And in fact, we have an end cap over by the checkout counters that have a good part of the entire collection over there, and I think folks will love them. But Sacred Rhythms talks about arranging our lives for spiritual transformation. And Barton, she really talks about how to do the spiritual disciplines in our lives, how we make time for it, whether we're talking about prayer and reading our Bibles and solitude and self-examination and Sabbath and rest. How do those things play out in our lives? How do we make time for them, especially in the busy world that we live in? So I believe that this is a good book for men and women both to really help us to order our lives and experience the life transformation, the intimacy with God that comes with exercising those spiritual disciplines. Make Room is another good one. Jennifer Ford Berry is a professional organizer. If you've ever watched that show Orders, they have professional organizers come on there and help people clean up their houses and talk about people who have too much stuff and so much stuff that's making them miserable. But the truth is that a lot of us are the same way, aren't we? We got a lot of stuff, and we need to really declutter and get rid of some of our stuff, and we would be happier. And so she really talks about how we can get rid of the clutter get it out of our lives, and more than that, how getting rid of that clutter is going to really help us live a life that is a life that moves towards the purposes that God has for us in our lives. And that's going to be in our home section tonight. I think it's a good read. I think you'll enjoy it. I found it kind of convicting because I like stuff. And this one, I just couldn't resist Proverbs here. Proverbs for a dog lover's heart. And of course, Proverbs play on Proverbs, and it's inspired by the Proverbs. And there's also several books in this series. There's Proverbs for cat lovers. There's Proverbs for animal lovers in general. So you can read about guinea pigs and all kind of other animals, and just very, I don't know, they're fun stories and they're inspiring. You're going to find those in our inspiration section. That's by Jennifer Marshall Bleakley. And giving your words, I think it's another great word. This is going to be in our parenting section. And this book really helps us to give our kids, our grandkids, life affirming words. Because the truth is that, a lot of people grow up and they don't hear life-giving words from their parents. It's not necessarily that they had mean or abusive parents, but sometimes you just don't know what it's going to say that's going to help boost your kid up. And this really, again, kind of gets in that vein of soundtracks that have in your kid's mind those truths of God, those affirming, uplifting truths of God that are going to help them to grow. And the most understood women of the Bible by Mary DeMuth. And you can just imagine, we're misunderstood, right? And I think a lot of women, or so says Mary DeMuth, you feel misunderstood, ladies? Anyone ever? Well, the truth is that we probably misunderstand a lot of the ladies in the Bible. This book is in our women's section, and of course written by a woman with women in mind. Oops, back. There we go. And so, there's a lot of women in the Bible we misunderstand. There's Hagar, there's Rahab. You think of Bathsheba, about a misunderstood woman there, or Naomi, Ruth's mother-in-law, Mary Magdalene, or Tamar. So we see these misrepresented women in the Bible, and we realize reading this that this is not a new problem. Many women have faced this since the dawn of time. Mary DeMuth tells the tales of 10 women in the Bible who were misunderstood in their own time and often still are, bringing each of them a deep humanity that makes her and her problems more relatable to the 21st century you. You're going to find that in our women's section. I believe you'll find it an enjoyable read. Satisfy my thirsty soul. This is also going to be in our ladies section, our women's section, and really talks about about longing for intimacy with God. As a woman who wants to follow Jesus in her everyday life, you yearn for intimacy with God. You long to know His presence, to be satisfied in heart and soul, but you don't know how. Well, Linda Dillow is here to tell her readers just how to have intimacy with God and how to do that. Life is busy, right? And she talks about how to have that intimacy with God in a busy world with kids and all the things that have to be taken care of. Everything you need to know about homeschooling. I got to tell you, this is by Leanne Garfias, and I got to tell you, it's a thick book, but there's a lot of material to cover in it. I was really amazed at how much is in this book. There's the idea of how do you teach? What's your teaching style? And we all recognize little kids and teens are a little bit different, right? As far as how you teach them, how they learn. Well, when the kids do the work you have them do, how do you even grade it? What am I supposed to? This is designed for those of us who, I would do this, but I was so curious about how to do it. And this is a great book to start, and you're going to find that in our parenting section. And I think this will be a blessing to folks in church, because there's a lot of church families that do homeschool or maybe are thinking about it. And this COVID pandemic kind of put everybody in the homeschooling role. So something like that could happen again. We've seen it. Strong in Battle by Susie Larson. I think this is another good book, really, that talks about how our battles are real. But the truth is that we're fighting a battle in a war that Jesus already won. So how do we make that real in our lives? Well, she talks about understanding who God is and who we are in His kingdom. And she has some great chapters. I'll talk about just a few of them. She talks about staying dependent on God, staying teachable, staying strong, staying fierce in the battle, staying in awe of God, staying close to Him. And so the battle that you face in life is real. You're not imagining it, but knowing who we are and what we possess through Jesus Christ, that's going to help remind us that we're on the winning side. And this has been a very popular book. You're going to find it in Christian Living, and I think you'll enjoy it. Now, I got to tell you, right here, I was really excited about this book. Baker published it, and so I think that's another good thing. We had this author here in the store Friday night, and it was just an exceptional event and so inspiring. You're going to find this in our memoirs section, but this by Peter Mutabazi, who grew up in Uganda, and at 10 years old, he ran away from an abusive household and lived on the streets for 5 years before someone showed him some compassion. And actually, it was someone who worked for Compassion International, you may have heard of. And he grew up, went to school, ultimately found himself working for Compassion International, mentored teens, and always wanted to be a foster parent. But they said, well, you're a single man, and besides that, your skin color is wrong, so you can't be a foster parent. Well, ultimately, he found himself over here in the United States, living in North Carolina. And he was used to mentoring teens, and he spoke to some social services folks. I like to mentor teens. I know I can't be a foster parent. They said, why not? And so he found out, over here, he could certainly be a foster parent. He really flips the narrative on its head, because most of the kids he's fostered, and all the kids he's got right now living in the house, I think there's 5 of them, and several of them he's either adopted or in the process of adopting, still single, are white kids. So he really flips that narrative on its head. It's just, just to hear him talk about brought tears to my eyes, and just so inspiring and so uplifting. I really highly recommend this book. I'm excited about it. The wrong direction. There we go. And we have a classic here, Knowing God by J.I. Packer. That's one of those IBD signature series that we talked about. This is a classic that for 50 years has really helped people understand. It's the knowing God is more than knowing facts about God. We learn that in church, right? We learn facts about God. We read the Bible. We can find out facts about God. But knowing God is so much more than that. And this is an engaging and practical book. It is a classic for a reason. And in fact, Christianity Today named it as one of the top 50 books that have shaped evangelicals. So